Denise Whitmore is one of Ireland's best known digital marketers. She's listed as one of Ireland's top thought leaders by Irish Tech News. Her award winning digital marketing agency, the Social Media Department, is renowned for their approach to building business using platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and email marketing. Denise is also the founder of Irish Women in Business Network. It's a successful women's network that assists women all over Ireland in achieving their business goals. Denise is invited to present discussions on social media at national business events as well as in the media, and then she runs workshops on social media all over Ireland. Her advice, training sessions, and expertise have been endorsed by some of the most prolific businesses in Ireland. She's also been on a curator for TEDx Wexford, held in the National Opera House. And she's got some pretty awesome clients, including these are super cool, Riverdance and Celtic Women. Come on, guys. But she's got other great clients as well. And today, what we're going to be talking about is such an important topic. The manipulation of the Facebook algorithm. How many of you have ever been frustrated because you feel like nobody is seeing your stuff? Like you're posting great stuff and it's your mom is the only body who's liking it. Anyone have that problem? Okay, so Denise, you got to help us today. We need it. We need the help.
No problem. Okay, yeah. So I would assume lots of the people viewing are, in the same boat. I think at the beginning of this year, the organic reach on Facebook was down to about 2.2%, which means if you have 100 people who like your page, really on average, only about 2 people are actually seeing your posts. It's really frustrating when you're putting actual time and effort into, your content and then nobody is seeing it unless you put money behind it, which is it's frustrating for businesses. Mm-hmm. So before I delve into the actual, what is the Facebook algorithm and to try to explain it and how to actually manipulate it, what I always do with my clients is to actually just give them a little bit of information about, I suppose, the psychology behind social media, why somebody would like or share or comment. Because I truly feel that if a business can understand why their potential customer or their target audience would like or share something, then they can alter their content to actually appeal to their audience. So there are 2 things that happen in our brain when we actually use social media. So the first thing is dopamine. We get this huge hormonal spike of dopamine, okay? And I suppose scientists used to think that it was like a kind of a pleasure drug, but it's actually, or pleasure chemical, it's actually a want chemical. So it creates this surge of wanting more information. What's unpredictable. We love this, little bite-sized pieces of information. I think it's the reason why clickbait works really well on social media. Mm-hmm. When we're putting out, like on YouTube and Facebook Live, when we're premiering certain videos, we tend to see a much higher rate of engagement and viewership as well. So, and also dopamine is, it's actually harder to, like the pull of dopamine, it's harder to walk away from, it's harder to give up than alcohol and cigarettes. So you can see why people will be so addicted to social media. Yeah. So the second thing that happens is we have a surge, hormonal spike of oxytocin. And oxytocin, as we know, is it's the cuddle chemical. And so there's actually studies that show on somebody's wedding day, there is the same kind of spike in oxytocin as 10 minutes of tweeting. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah. So if you've got both of these things happening at the same time, like you can see why somebody would be seriously addicted to social media. We get this lovely kind of warm feeling when we're putting stuff out and our friends and family are liking it and they're like, oh my God, we're so popular. So yeah, this is the reason why lots of people are using social media. Mm-hmm. So if a business can understand that, like I said, they can kind of alter their content. The next thing then I want to talk about is when we actually look at our news feed. Mm-hmm. So our news feed on Facebook specifically is split into these little kind of, these little boxes, these little content boxes. And we have about 1,500 posts at any one time from friends and family, people that we're connected with, pages that we like, and sponsored posts that are trying to fight to get into that top slot, so that it's the first thing that we see. So that's what a business is up against. They have about, there's about 1,500 other posts fighting against them to get into that slot. So the Facebook algorithm basically decides what post is going into that slot. And our friend Zuckerberg came out and said, we want you to only see the content that is of interest to you. He's like, we care about our users, so therefore we're only going to show you what we think you are interested in. And this is what the Facebook algorithm does. So it looks at a couple of things. It looks at, have you interacted with the page previously? Is the content something that you might like? Do you prefer images to videos or vice versa? And is the post itself, is that quite popular? So it'll have a look at all these different things before it, I suppose, decides whether it's going to show it to you or not. So from a business point of view, okay, you have to, I suppose, I don't like saying, I know we use the word manipulate, but it's almost like tricking the Facebook algorithm into thinking that that your page is popular. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. So if you're putting out kind of nurturing posts, so everybody kind of gets caught up in the sales posts. If you're putting out nurturing posts, I kind of call it like fluffy marketing. Kind of like, you want to talk a little bit about the personal side of your business, maybe behind the scenes, things like that, rather than just sales. So maybe a ratio of 2 to 1, for example. You want to get an emotional reaction from your audience, so that the next time that you put out a sales post, you've got a higher chance of somebody seeing that post in their newsfeed because they've previously interacted with your page for that kind of nurturing post. So I guess now the problem with this, right, is that this does not happen overnight. And that's the problem for most businesses. I think a lot of my clients, they've come to me and they say, right, I've set up a Facebook page. I have my content. I've got my logo designed. I have my videos created and I have my website done. Why am I not getting the kind of reach that I see my competitors getting? You really do have to put in the elbow grease to actually get that engagement up. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen and it will happen.
Well, and one thing that I think people do with that is they jump all in and they almost try to do more than is sustainable, and then they lose steam when they don't. It's just my problem with dieting, right? Like I start a diet, and if I don't lose 5 pounds in the first week, I'm like, it's not working, or maybe I give it 2 or 3, but then if I'm not seeing the, put all that effort in to lose 1 pound a week is frustrating. And I think we have that same experience with social media, but we have to make that commitment that we're going to stick there until the results happen, because it's a slow build over time. Social media is a slow build, not a fast fix, but it's the most powerful thing you can do to build a thriving online community.
100% agree with you. And I think it actually comes back to the human psyche, because we are using so much technology at the moment. We want our results now. We want to see the video now. We don't want to have to click onto a different platform. We want it to preview in our newsfeed. I think this is actually one of the reasons why TikTok is doing so well at the moment, because they're short videos, you've got hashtags, it's comical, and it's happening so quickly. So yeah, unfortunately from the business side of things, so you've got kind of 2 hats on when you're using social media. You've got your user hat on, but then the business side, and the two can kind of get confused. So the business side, we want to actually see those results really quickly, but we have to understand that you have to put in a little bit of work beforehand. One of the things that I always kind of go back to, maybe some of your other panelists might not agree with this, but I find it actually does work, and it's a little bit of old school marketing in terms of social media, and that is actually running competitions. Done in the right way, of course, because Facebook has a couple of regulations when it comes to competition, such as you can't ask for a share as part of your competition. But if you're sharing something like really good content, and that the prize is something that people are willing to that they really want to win, then they will automatically share and tell their friends anyway. But I do think that starting with something like that, if you're struggling to actually get your engagement up, if you can begin with something as simple like this old school marketing of running a competition, the engagement will come up. But then you have to follow through with that. So you have to make sure then that afterwards you are putting out those sales posts and continue on with those nurturing posts as well. I also see, everybody kind of falls into this trap as well. They're like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? I haven't posted, so I'll just put anything out.
Oh,
they don't
yeah.
And they don't do out a strategy. Also, I definitely think that, quality is much better than quantity at this moment, at this stage of social media. Before, if you'd asked me maybe 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have said, oh yeah, try and get something out every day. No, now it's maybe 2 to 3 times a week, but make sure that it is really good quality before.
Well, and the other thing I'll say about quality is it's not going to really do you good to post like I've seen, I have a lot of clients who are in the orthodontic space, and a lot of them will buy access to somewhere that creates all of these social media posts, and then they can just share those. I see this in network marketing as well. Like there's a whole library of social media posts and you just share them, but they're not really going to perform for you because it's not you, it's not your wards, it's not your team members, it's not the people that they know, like, and trust. They want to see original content. And I think that Google and Facebook and everyone is just too smart. They know when it's repurposed content. They know when it's, it's just something that you pulled off of somewhere else and then decided to share. So I agree with you. If you'll slow down and you'll create the content and be strategic with it. The other thing that I do that I love is I keep track of all of my social media content in a Google Drive, and then I can go back to like 2014 and repurpose stuff that I wrote then that I promise you, I don't remember I wrote it, so nobody else does either. But the tips are still good. Like Amy's 2014 tips are still good, and it saves you so much time if you'll organize your content as you create it in a place like a Google Doc where you can keep it. Actually, I use a Google Sheet versus if you just put it on Facebook, going back and finding your content from 2014 is like not even doable.
Yeah, definitely. Or even the likes of Trello or something like that as well, and you can kind of make note of the actual insights that you might have gotten from that post. But definitely repurposing content is a great idea because you can actually rewrite, let's say, top 10 tips and maybe just edit them slightly for that particular year. So the sizes on social media or the times to post on social media 4 years ago might be completely different now for 2020. So just rehash the actual information.
Yes. Yeah. You just take it and you kind of give it a little facelift.
Yeah.
So Hollywood does it all the time. We can do it too. All right. Like literally, have we had any movies that were not remakes that have been great in the last little bit? I'm like, every single movie is a remake of a movie we already had. So if they can do it and make millions of dollars, we can do it. We've got a great question in here from Leah that says, I notice a lot of people seem to merge their personal and business pages on Facebook. Do you recommend that? That face says it all. Tell us why.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. You can definitely have it. Honestly, this is going to sound really long-winded, but it depends on your brand. Okay, so if you are your brand, then yeah, you can definitely have a kind of a business page that's your brand, and you can have a personal Facebook profile that's also your brand. But you will have certain limits on both. So
yeah.
First things first, Facebook will definitely penalize your profile if it thinks that you're acting as a business. I have seen people have their Facebook profile shut down and they've lost everything because of that. If you are acting as a person and as your brand, then it's okay, as long as it's not kind of too spammy. Also, you have a maximum amount of friends on Facebook because you can only get to 5,000. I don't really know anybody who actually physically has 5,000 friends, but that's the maximum that you can have on that personal profile as well for your business. Then you've got the other side of things. If you want to do any kind of advertising, so let's say you reach the 5,000 friends on your profile and you want to get beyond that, unless those 5,000 people are actually sharing it into their network, you can't advertise on a profile. You have to advertise from a Facebook page. So there are benefits to both, but I think the only time I would ever see a profile being used as a type of business is if the person is their brand. Otherwise, I wouldn't actually use a profile for business, and definitely keep the two of them separate as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I have a colleague who she can no longer send messages through Facebook. They kicked her out completely for a while, and like her hands are tied on her personal profile because she overused it. And then on the flip side of it too, you guys, even if if you follow me, if we're connected, we're friends on Facebook, you're going to see both. You're going to see my business life. You're going to see my personal life, my family life. But I will always get more visibility on that personal page than I do on my business page, but there's no way for me to run ads through my personal page. So it's not enough. And there's a limit. And every time somebody adds a new friend request, I have to go find some rando that I can delete, like some person I've never met or engaged with, and delete them because you get maxed out. So I do think that you need to have both. I absolutely agree with that. Well, Denise, thank you so much. You've shared some really great tips. I would love to have you share how our audience can get connected with you.
Great. Yes. So my company is the Social Media Department. So if you just Google the social media department.ie, because it's an Irish website, socialmediadepartment.ie, and I'm on every social media platform. I even spent lockdown making TikTok videos.
Nice.
Yeah.
My kids are
my head as well.
Nice. My kids are all about TikTok right now, my little ones. Okay. And I know that you have a special offer that you want, if somebody needs to have a strategy session with you, you have a special offer for our audience. You want to go ahead and share that?
Yes. So what I do, especially in these kind of times, I'm giving quite a lot of consultations online. So businesses are looking at their social media presence. If they can't actually work in their business, they're working on their business, which is a great time to do that. So I'm offering a 1-hour social media audit or type consultation to businesses for only €50. So I think that's about $57. And it's normally €150. So if any of the attendees to this conference, if you email me, they can actually avail of that offer.
Awesome. And we dropped the link in there. So thank you so much for being on with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know you probably hear this from any Americans, but we love a good Irish accent. I mean, come on, guys. Is it not the best? It's the best. I love it. So thank you. But also, aside from the accent, your information is also the best. So thank you so much for being on with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.